Greetings, ladies and gentle readers. I just finished The Arcane Artist Chronicles of Anna Atticus Stone, Book 2 by Sever Bronny, and I gotta say, I enjoyed it an awful lot. In the interest of full disclosure, I have been a fan of this particular writer for quite some time, because this is not his first series. It's not even his first series in the world he created. You see, it started off with a coming-of-age tale of three particular characters, warlocks as he calls them in his universe, and a bit of a coming-of-age tale as they are progressing in essentially a land at war. We got to know them, we got to know the people who are responsible for teaching them what they knew, and essentially where this series starts off, in which book one is called Prodigy of Thunder, where this series takes off is one of their mentors, the story of her particular life. So you could kind of equate it to if you imagine, for example, Harry Potter, for example. And, you read through Harry Potter and then you find another series going through the life of, I don't know, Dumbledore, essentially. And that probably is a great way to describe this series. And it's actually what some people, in my opinion, mistakenly describe a little bit too much. This is like Harry Potter. Because there are similarities. You both have, young magic users learning how to cast spells like a lot of other things. There's an academy like you have in a lot of other books. But where this series and this particular universe takes a hard turn away from, books like Harry Potter is there are consequences all throughout this individual's series on both this one and his previous, which is really what hooks me. In some other stories, you might have, magic users learning how to use their magic, and if they make a mistake while they're doing it, oh, I guess we're gonna have to get healed up. Darn. Here, you make a mistake, you're dead. Like, literally. Like, I'm avoiding spoilers in this section, but yeah, it's not uncommon for people to be trying to learn these deadly arts, make a mistake, and actually explode. Sorry, no do-overs. You screwed up, you're dead now. So the universe is very harsh, and you might be under the mistaken impression then is, oh, okay, I get it. This is gonna be like a Harry Potter series, only mixed in with some Game of Thrones. The author's probably trying to be edgy. This is probably not for me. And you'd be horribly wrong. You take all of that back. There are consequences, yes. Characters die, yes. But it's not done just to be edgy. Like, when a character is hurt or killed in the series, he set it up so you actually care. That character did things before they die. Their death is felt. So, whereas other stories that I will not name essentially kind of like have a death list that is mostly just fan service, all too often they're like, okay, we're going to kill off this character, and this character. So they don't really do a lot with those characters because they're already dead in the author's mind. And after they're gone, they're never really referenced for very much. Like maybe a token mention, but their lives don't really have any impact on the surviving characters. That's not the case with good old Sever's writing. When he kills off a character, you feel that that character is dead. Like, you don't want them to die, they're gonna go ahead and kick the bucket, and the characters that survive them are vastly impacted by the hole that that character is now left in their life. So in that sense, it's a lot more realistic than some of these other, like, maybe edgy series that just kind of kill off characters to kind of, like, make a name for themselves. Not the case here. Sever's really good with character development and character progression, and if he writes off a character, the entire story is going to feel it. The entire story is going to feel it. It's actually fantastic because that also obviously gives a greater sense of danger, because when your characters are going into battle, for example, or they're trying to go up against whatever tense moment they find themselves in, you don't know how it's going to turn out. Are they all gonna get free? I don't know. They all gonna live through it? I don't know. Well, within reason, we know that Anna's not gonna die, the main character of this particular book, because she's in the series that came before this one. Right? We know she's going on to mentoring like another generation of warlocks, so we know that she's not gonna die. But it doesn't mean you still don't have tense moments. You still don't know how they're getting out of whatever they're going to get out of. You don't know if any of the characters that are going in with her are coming out alive. So it's just absolutely, absolutely fantastic. It's definitely not falling into my pet peeve of wish fulfillment, where the character is always right and they're always amazing and they can do no wrong. And the author just like hands them whatever they need. No, 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 no. Main characters making enemies all throughout this. They're making mistakes all throughout this. They're making lifetime blood feuds all throughout this. And sometimes their mistakes cost another character their life. So it's definitely not wish fulfillment. It definitely goes into adventure, and because there are multiple series going off of this one, it's definitely a more of an epic tale, because this is multiple generational story kind of being told out over the course of the various series. I absolutely cannot recommend this series enough, and I'm actually a little bit confused too, because I have read a lot of really, really terrible books that, let's just say, have over 1,400 reviews on Amazon, and yet I like look at this individual's writing, for example, and it's like 40, there's like 450 ratings here. You got 104 on the other one. Even the start of his original series I'm seeing here, Arcane, the Arinthian Line, Book 1, is also sub 1,000. It's very confusing to me why this particular author that has fantastic writing, fantastic character development, has a plot line that makes sense, a world that feels lived in with traditions and like so much detail in it. Like, why aren't more readers gravitating towards this? It's a bit of a head scratcher. Not gonna lie, it's a bit of a head scratcher. I will say that here in the spoiler-free section, if you're looking for a strong female protagonist that doesn't have everything handed to them, in a world that seems believable as they're struggling to find themselves and help others, sometimes stumbling along the way, then you're gonna love this. This is absolutely like S tier writing compared to some of the things that are out there that I will not name. That I will not name. Let's just say wish fulfillment garbage that is about as deep as a shallow puddle. So yeah, if you're looking for a nice book, you like the things that I listed, go ahead and definitely pick this up. You cannot go wrong. Okay, you can go wrong. I highly recommend that maybe just an idea. You might wanna you might want to pick up the first one. Yeah, you might want to pick up the first one first. I recommend Prodigy of Thunder. Yeah, go ahead and go do that one first. If you just go into book 2, you might be a little bit confused, so I would definitely avoid that. Now, for those of you who want a little bit more detail, I'm not going to spoil everything, but we are going into a spoiler section where I will be revealing some kind of important bits of this series so far. So this is your warning. Spoilers coming up. So stop here. You know my take of the book. I think it's great. I think it's S tier if you're looking for the things I mentioned. If you want more detail, we'll be doing that right now. So, the Chronicles of Anna Attica Stone start off with Prodigy of Thunder here, where it actually starts off with her as a child. I think she's like 8 years old, I want to say, first practicing and discovering her magic at the age of 10. Sets up a very, very turbulent home life with her and her sister both competing to be the best in their father's eyes, who is like an amazing warlock who goes around and essentially helps people, which is way, way, way on the out. The whole helping things, yeah. Noble's not really taken a really fine not taking a really fine opinion to the whole helping other people kind of thing, because a lot of them are corrupt and they want to do terrible things like profit off of slavery and a whole bunch of other unmentionable things. Do-gooders don't fare well in there, but it makes sense how the politics in here makes sense. And it's like, oh yeah, they're just, they don't want people knowing their secrets. They don't want people telling them like what they can and can't do with their power. So sure, they're not liking this all too much. They're not happy with it. So you can slowly see the darkness slowly starting to rise, and it's not like, oh, the darkness because an evil has crashed into the land, which is, okay, it can be done, but not in this book. Like an evil is crashing to the land and spreading blah 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 blah, and then we've got to fight the evil monsters that are now, killing everything. No, it's not like that. It's like people are just, vain and selfish, and they do vain and stupid things, which then has a way of spreading to other people who want to do vain and stupid things. So yeah, in the book one, goes through her life in the academy, fighting with her sister, essentially trying to find a way for them to essentially get along. And be a family, which is not happening. Because the older sister is much threatened by young Anna, because she is, it says it right there, it's a prodigy. And we know from the series that came before, yeah, she is a prodigy. And the older sister does not like that, because she doesn't want to be overshadowed. Doesn't want her accomplishments completely ruined by her. Doesn't want everything that she hopes to get. I mean, it's not really... you can tell even from... you can tell even from the cover, what's going to happen by the end of the book. That little ball of lightning in her hand, we know who it's going to. And we know the older sister can't accept it, so you're on a ride as you know the conclusion, and you can see yourself racing towards it. It's like, this is not going to go well. It's not going to pass to the older sister. It's passing to the younger sister. This artifact of immense power. She hates it. It gets worse and worse and worse, till we see what we see at the end of the book. In book 2, we resume. She's like 20 years old. She has the artifact. She's a lot more powerful than she was. She's leaving the academy, going into life as an adult, graduated from her, magical classes. What does she do now? Now, this is where a lot of authors tend to screw up when they're doing the whole, academy spiel. Because writing an academy is pretty easy. Like, you know what they're wearing, you know what their schedules are, you know where they're going, who they're interacting with. It's really, really easy to set up. A lot of authors can go ahead and, write that kind of event all day. But what happens when they're out of that? What happens when they're leaving the academy, the setting that's really, really comfortable from like the previous book or books? Does this book still hold up? Does the setting still make sense? Do the characters still flow naturally? Other people are in the world. Are they introduced in a way that makes sense? Do they have their own motivations, or are they simply yes men to the character they're coming across? Like, there's a lot more pitfalls, and I'm pleased to say that in the Arcane Artist, Sever does a really good job writing about life after an academy in a way that doesn't fall short, and let's just say for no apparent reason, just for no reason at all, doesn't feel like, let's just say, the characters walking around a forest in a circle over and over again for no reason whatsoever. I don't know where I got that from. It's also interesting how it kind of plays with their expectations, because ultimately we know one of her most famous battles and where it's going to be. Turns out that's probably going to be in book 3 of this particular series. And for readers who had read the previous series, you're probably waiting to see when those characters are introduced. When is this evil necromancer going to pop up? Is he going to be the villain of this book? Like, what's going on? And no, they threw us for a loop. Introduced someone else, but still made sense. Interested to see how they're going to duel each other at the end, because that's what she was famous for, her duels. Readers of the previous series will know who she gets with ultimately, the love of her life. and how that's going to match up when it looks like that's not really going on because they kind of sort of hate each other. Well, they don't hate each other's guts, but there's a really strong dislike there throughout most of the book. So there's like a lot of like, little details that are just going to completely entertain you from start to finish. Like the book is 824 pages, you're probably not going to feel it because you just want to know what happens next. And my personal favorite, it's not bogged down with like 6 different point of views. Half of them you don't even care about. So it's actually 800 pages of the person you're interested in. And you always want to know what happens next from chapter to chapter. Now, in this book, yes, she does learn of someone who is misusing their artifact and making people's lives a living hell. She gets first-hand account of the atrocities this person is using their artifact for, and her possessing an artifact with the morals that both her mentor and her father essentially instilled in her. She's just not the kind of person who will let that slide, despite the fact that pretty much a lot of people are saying it's like none of her business. While they just like want to use her for their own ends, she wants to make a difference and help people. So navigating how she's like gonna dodge them and go after that dude and what she's gonna do, it's really, really great to see. It's really, really great to see as she's learning how to be the person we know she's gonna become. There is one thing I thought was a little bit weird. There's a huge, huge artifact they wind up doing something with towards the end of the book. They go in there briefly, and I thought, I mean, the book was already getting pretty large at that point. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. I mean, that part I thought did feel like a little bit rushed, but ultimately that's also kind of attributed to another one of Anna's little oopsies, where yeah, we could have been a bit more careful about what we were doing in there and what we were saying, but we weren't, and it ended a little bit bad. So now you have to figure out what to do from what could wind up being one of the greatest mistakes of your life. So it's really interesting in that regard. Like, you really don't know if she's gonna end something well or if she's screwing this up too and having to learn from it for the future. Either way, it's just a joy to read. The Arcane Artist, Chronicles of Anna Attica Stone, Book 2 from Sever Bronny. You definitely want to pick it up and keep your eyes peeled next year for, and by that I mean 2023, for Book 3. I'm sure that's going to be fantastic too. Great thing about tried and true authors like this, you can pretty much trust what they're writing, unlike some books I could name that just randomly kill off all their characters for no reason in the dumbest ways possible, just because they think the controversy of it will, sell more paper. I freaking hate it when writers do that, man. So yeah, if you're looking for another book to read, pick up this. You got book 1 and 2, Prodigy of Thunder and The Arcane Artist. You can't go wrong. They're definitely books I'm going to be reading more than once. I hope you do too. I can't wait for book 3. But do you agree? Did you enjoy this book? Did you not enjoy this book? Are you going to be trying these books? Do let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. Have fun reading.